Next time you feel like you want to tell an influencer what they can say or what message they should give out, think, this standard, is it according to you? This standard, is it according to someone else? Are you speaking for yourself as a human being, telling them your standards, or are you simply a puppet who does not know where his strings come from? So, for today's discussion, I have a story to share and a question to ask which lies at the heart of social media as whole. And the story is that my girlfriend recently made a social media account and she's posting her unfiltered opinions on that account. She made 2 or 3 reels, and a friend of her actually DM'd her about it, asked her in private messaging that what are you doing? You are spreading the wrong message. You're spreading a misogynistic message, and you shouldn't do this. This will influence people. This will empower people who hold these kinds of controversial opinions, and therefore you shouldn't do that. You hold a responsibility, and that is the question I want to ask today. Does she? Do I? Or does anyone who's making content hold any responsibility on how you think, how people consume it, and why is that?
Is it fair to expect someone sharing their honest experience or opinion to filter it just because others might misuse it or feel threatened by it? That's a big question. So let's start here. What do you think? Do creators have moral responsibility for the ways people interpret and use their content?
I think if you do consider creators to have that moral responsibility, you're removing the agency and humanity of the people who are consuming the content. Think about it from two angles specifically, right? Let's go cold hard logic. Are people influenced by the content that they consume? For sure, it subconsciously wires you, right? That is a given fact. But there is another fact of the algorithm. You get recommended the kind of content that you watch, the kind of retention that you give to a certain kind of content, right? If you are watching my video, for example, you probably like philosophical discussions. You are the kind of person who understands these things and finds joy in it, right? A person who just spends watching women dancing on Instagram reels is not going to come across my content at all, because the algorithm is not recommending it, right? The algorithm is also profit incentivized. So what does it do? It only shows you content that you're going to watch more and more. And the more you spend time on a certain type of content, the more you like a certain type of content, the more you share and talk about a certain kind of content, the algorithm selects that for you over and over again. So if someone already has misogynistic tendencies, if someone already holds controversial opinions, they will get her content shown to them. And if someone does not have that kind of thought process, it will not be shown to them. Even if we remove her content entirely, what is remaining? A sea of millions and millions of videos that share the same controversial opinion, and the same people are going to watch it. At the end of the day, you are the one who's training your algorithm. So in this point of view, you are still responsible, even though it does shape you. And then there is the other side of the argument that I want to give, the other thought process, the other viewpoint, which is it's your goddamn job. Because if it was never your goddamn job, then you're a baby. You're a child, and you're removing your agency as a human being. Hell, think about it like this, right? I see a lot of things going on in the society, right? A lot of times I see people partake in unlawful activity. Do you not? Do you not see people peeing at the side of the road? Do you not sometimes see people spitting on the side of the road? Do you not see people commit litter? People commit all sorts of things. People breaking traffic laws. Do you do that? A lot of times you don't do that, right? You choose for yourself not to do, and that is how you showcase your ability or showcase your individuality as a human being. So when it comes to content, certainly I'm a baby. Certainly I want to be fed, and if I end up doing something, I'm going to blame it on the content. That is just you regressing to being a child. That is you regressing. And I'm not even trying to shame anyone. I'm simply saying that respect yourself more than that.
That's exactly the tension, isn't it? If we say content shapes minds, then yes, there's power in creating. But if we forget that viewers also choose what they watch, what they believe, what they act on, then we've stripped away the very thing that makes people human: choice. So here's the real provocation for the audience. Is the moral weight of influence really heavier than the moral weight of interpretation? And if so, are you asking to be protected or asking to be controlled?
The point is, either way, even if you're asking to be protected or you're asking to be controlled, it lands you in the same position. Think about it. A child is protected by his parents, but that same child is completely controlled by them also. The only difference between control and protection is whatever the intention of that person is, but it is always ambiguous, right? Maybe they have good intentions, maybe they have bad intentions. The point is, you're letting go of your agency as a human being either way, whether it is for protection, whether it is for giving up control. You're doing it to safeguard yourself, you're doing it to not take the burden of responsibility of taking care of yourself, and someone else can use it for your good, but they definitely for sure is going to use it for their own good, because they are not your parents. They have different intentions. Your parents are biologically programmed to protect you. These people are not. These people see the fact that you're giving up control, and they are going to enjoy it, right? Maybe they'll throw you a little protection of sorts in the name of just to keep you incentivized, but they are going to use your attention, they're going to use your mind, and they're going to use your opinions to maybe, I don't know, get you to vote for someone. Maybe they do that so that you buy a certain stuff, maybe, or maybe for even more nefarious purpose. Even if like evil intentions are not there, they're still incentivized not by your protection but by their own self-interest. Do you really want to give up your individuality for that? That is my question.
That's a brutal but honest framing, because once you hand over your thinking to someone else, you don't get to choose what they do with it. Even if it starts as protection, it becomes control the moment their interests diverge from yours. And they will diverge. So here's the kicker. If you're afraid of being manipulated, the worst thing you can do is outsource your mind. Because once you've done that, you've already been manipulated. You just don't know it yet.
Exactly. So whenever you are giving up control in the name of, whenever you're like talking to a creator and saying you are spreading this message and you shouldn't be doing that, technically you might be right, but are you also not dehumanizing people who are watching the content? Are you also not taking away their agency as human beings when you're doing that? And then there is a deeper question that I had when I thought of this entire whole saga, which was that, wait, if this is the case, if this is how things are, should people only do things for the sake of society? Should personal expression again be utilitarian in purpose, right? Even if I'm making art, even if I'm sharing opinions, even if I'm doing anything, I'm doing it all for the greater good. It sounds fancy, it sounds exotic, it sounds amazing, but then how are you different from an ant which is doing it for the sake of their ant colony, right? Yes, that might lead to a better society, but that will also erase your individual identity. Is that the kind of society that you want to propagate? Something which erases individual agency, something that erases the concept of me, the concept of you, all in favor of society.
That's the trap, right? Once you make personal expression accountable to utilitarian standards, you're no longer expressing, you're optimizing. You become a mouthpiece for a collective agenda. Even if the agenda is good, it's not you anymore. It's just a vessel. And yeah, that is how an ant operates. Ants don't have egos. Ants don't create for the joy of creation. They act as extensions of the hive. So the moment you demand that all art, all speech, all thought serve society, you're not building a better world. You're just turning people into better ants. Do you really want that? Or do you just want people to make you feel safe? Because those aren't the same thing.
Yes, and then there is a deeper aspect of it also, a darker, more disastrous aspect of it. Yes, you do it for the collective good. Yes, you do everything for the goodness of everyone. But whose standards of goodness are you abiding by? Where are those standards coming from? If it is coming from a holy book like the Bible, the Quran, the whatever, then who are you held accountable to? Whose ideas are you propagating? You're propagating not just the ideas of that book, but whoever sits on top of that theological hierarchy, right? You're basically spreading the message of the Pope, perhaps, right? You're spreading the message of the church. That is whose bidding you're doing. Same with people who do it for political parties. Same for their loyalty to political parties. There's a whole deal in my country, in India, about people supporting BJP because they think they are the next coming of Sri Ram or something. But that is still giving them all the power, right? Maybe they have intentions that you agree with, but if you agree everything that they say, if you completely serve them, your individuality is also gone, and they hold all the power at the end of the day. Can you trust your morality with their version of morality? Or do you like being a puppet for everyone else? Be it for a theology, be it for a political party, be it for a movement. Do you want to be a human being, or do you simply want to be a member of that movement? Because I will be honest, in my moral framework, I want to assert myself. I want to follow what I critically analyze, what I find out through my thinking, through my personal experience, through my understanding of logic to be the truth. I strive towards an objective truth, and perhaps you do as well, but you're outsourcing that striving to some other ideology. And in doing that, you're becoming less of a person and more of a puppet. You're either a puppet or at max you're a parrot, but you're never, ever a human being.
Exactly. And the scariest part is, it doesn't even feel like control. That's the brilliance of it. It feels like virtue. It feels like solidarity. It feels like belonging. But underneath all that, you're not thinking anymore. You're just repeating. And the more noble the cause appears, the more dangerous it becomes, because now questioning it feels immoral. That's how you end up in systems where obedience is holiness and doubt is sin. Whether it's religious, political, or even social justice oriented, the moment you hand over your moral compass in exchange for group alignment, you've stopped navigating. Someone else is steering. That's not society. That's soft totalitarianism in disguise. And it starts exactly with people saying, you shouldn't be allowed to say that. Someone might get influenced.
Exactly. So to wrap it all up, to give my moral argument here, and you don't have to agree with me at all, but this is what I believe and this is what I am going to say, and you should do that for yourself also, right? Critically analyze my video, critically analyze everything that you see. That is the core of my philosophy, right? Next time you feel like you want to tell an influencer what they can say or what message they should give out, think, this standard, is it according to you? This standard, is it according to someone else? Are you speaking for yourself as a human being, telling them your standards, or are you simply a puppet who does not know where his strings come from? And always remember, as I say, patterns, they're everywhere.